Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me talking about some board games, and today I'm going to be going through my top 24 list. So essentially how this came about is essentially I rediscovered PubMeeple. It's a website that I knew about for a long time. I just haven't gone through the grueling effort of going through their ranking system and ranking my collection of board games. And for those who don't know, my board game collection is pretty involved. So according to Board Game Geek, I have, where's the number? Oh, that's not right. Yeah, sorry, 1 second. Let me go back to my stats here. According to Board Game Geek, I have, I think it's 580 board games, 580 board games that are on my shelf. Oh man, they made this so difficult to look at now. Sorry, Board Game Geek recently changed their UI, so it's a little bit different. Here we go, here's games. So I have, it says my board games that I own are 689. I feel like it's counting some things or double counting some things, I'm not sure. My previously owned games are 97. Oh, okay, no, it's saying I have 689 board games, which, sure, I'll just take it at face value. And I've gotten rid of 97 games over the course of the time. Sure, all right. Oh, also, sorry, background music. Sorry, I almost forgot of background music. Man, that would have been so bad. But essentially, I have a lot of board games. And because I have a lot of board games, I didn't want to go through his ranking engine to kind of go through the grueling work of saying, I like this one over that one. And if you guys don't know, PubMeeple's website, I'm not sponsored by anybody, I'm not sponsored by them, but it's a website that I heard about a little while ago. And you can essentially plug in your Board Game Geek tag if you've been keeping track of your board games that way. And you can go through kind of it brings up 2 games at a time and says, do you like this one better or this one better? And you can say, I like this one better. And then it brings up another rank. And then you go through that however many times I had to go through, and it ranks your games. So I've done that with my board game collection, and I actually had to remove a few games from my collection, more specifically from the comparison list, because some games like expansions or mini expansions, those are I think are counted in Board Game Geek. So as a result of that, I ended up having to remove a few games. So all in all, I used the PubMeeple website to go through all, what is this? How many is this? To go through 442. So again, I mentioned before, my collection apparently is 689. It doesn't sound right. I think it's about 540, 550. Not that I'm trying to say, hey, here's my board game collection, but just saying that that's what it is. And I do have a lot of small games, so that is padded out a little bit because of that. But 442 items were ranked ultimately in this. And the methodology behind the ranking, for all who wants to know about methodology, I was essentially just saying, would I rather play this game or this game? I also, at some point, went through my collection and kind of determined what my top 10 would be. So I did kind of preemptively, like in the middle of the list, because I had to go through, I think, 3,800 different comparisons with all the games that I had. I did kind of somewhere around the 1,500 mark, 1,500 mark. I went through my list and said, okay, these games would definitely be in my top 10, I think. And then I went through again and said, okay, actually, these would be my top 10. So I kind of waffled back and forth with that one. And then I continued my ranking. So as a result, I was midway through my ranking, and that did impact how I rated some games versus the others, because I was being a little bit more consistent with the ones that I definitely wanted in my top 10. So take it as a bias if you will, but I did try to keep the same methodology of like, would I rather play this game over that game? So that is the methodology that I attempted to use. It was not consistent. This was over the course of the last 3 days of me doing this, not the whole entire time, but just kind of, hey, I'll spend an hour watching TV or something, doing the ranking, and then I was, oh yeah, I got a little bit of time between work to do the ranking. And then I finally finished, and here we are doing this video because I want to present to you all I really want to present to you all my top 20, but because I included expansions for some games and I did not include expansions for other games, I ended up with a top 20 list that had, I think, 4 expansions that were inside of it. So because of that, I expanded out to the top 24 or 25. I don't know exact numbers of where things were, but just letting you all kind of know the methodology ahead of time, the biases that were fed into this, and just notes that, for example, for games like G.I. Joe the deck building game, which is a game that I do like a lot, that game I did not include any of the expansions except for the Raise the Flag expansion, because that's a campaign that campaignifies G.I. Joe the deck building game. But G.I. Joe the deck building game has like some tiny box expansions that are just like cardboard things, and it also has like a smaller box expansions. Marvel Legendary is another great example. I just included the base game. I did not include any expansions, and I assume that I'm playing that, or I'm rating that with all the expansions that I have, and I have nearly all of Marvel Legendary heroes. So as a result of that, there's little inconsistencies because I did that for those kind of games, but then for things like Clinic, where I've played a ton of it, I know a lot of it, I know what belongs to what, I included all the expansions for Clinic. So that makes my ranking list a little bit different. Also things like Railroad Tiles, I include all the expansions and did not just reduce it down to just the base game. So it's a little bit all over the place, not consistent methodology, but just note that that's what I went into things with ahead of time. And you'll see why once I get to the higher parts of the list, why that had to be the case. So before I finally get, now I got that all established, before I finally get into showing you guys the games that are on the list, I want to give honorable mentions to 2 games. More specifically, Railroad Tiles is a game that I've been playing a ton of. And as you all know, if you've been watching my YouTube channel recently, you know that I've been playing the crap out of this game. And I'm still planning on playing more of it and doing more videos. So my apologies for those who may not like those videos, but it's just a fun game. I'm trying to play with my friends too. So I've gotten a few of my friends to sit down and play with me. So we're slowly churning through everything. But an honorable mention goes out to Railroad Tiles. On my list, Railroad Tiles, the base game, made it to, let me do a Control F. Where is Railroad Tiles? Sorry, Railroad Tiles, the expansion, Monuments, which was my favorite expansion for Railroad Tiles. That one made it to 35 out of 442. So it was the 35th place, and that was the highest showing for Railroad Tiles. I think Railroad Tiles, the base game, got around the 70th place. I'm scrolling right now to try to find it. Yeah, there it is, 89. So this was ranked 89. So I think the Monuments expansion, oh, this is Countryside. Sorry. This is Countryside. I meant to pick out the Monuments box. That was a blunder on my end. I'm not gonna redo this. It stays in, Actually, where's Countryside? I wanna see where Countryside fell. Because Countryside is definitely ahead of the base game for me. Yeah, Railroad Tiles Countryside is the 50th place. Railroad Tiles Monuments is 35th. And then Railroad Tiles, the base game, is 89th. So that's kind of where it fell in my list. So there's 87 games that I like more than the base game, and then there's 49 games that I like more than this expansion. So I just wanted to mention that one because I've been doing a whole bunch of play on that. Now I was very interested myself to see where it fell in on the list, but that is where Railroad Tiles falls on the list, and it is still a game that I'm continuing to play. Okay, all right, now let's actually get to the list. Starting with, like I said, I went down to the 24th. So starting with number 24 on my list. And what I'll do, format of the video, I should have mentioned this ahead of time. What I'll do is I will go ahead and mention the game. So I'll say the game, and I'll try to give a small blurb on how the game is and what the game does. And then I'll try to give a very small, short blurb on why I like this game or why maybe I think this game belongs in this place. I'll also make commentary on do I think the game should have ranked higher or should have ranked it lower. But we have 24 games to go through, so it's going to take me a while. So my apologies ahead of time for this 90-minute video that we're about to walk into. But hopefully you're all along for the ride. Also, I'll be putting bookmarks, so if you just want to skip to a game to hear me talk about a game very briefly, feel free to do that. I don't take any offense to it. I'll put the name of the games in the bookmark, so if you really want to, if you really want to see what game's coming up, you can just go through the bookmark to see the games, or if you just look in the description, you'll see all the games listed from 24th to 1st. So feel free to go check that out. Like I said, I appreciate you all being here to listen to me, but I also understand that we all got lives and we can't sit here for a 90-minute video. So all that said and done, let's go ahead and move on to the list. So the first game on the list is going to be Pax Transhumanity. So Pax Transhumanity comes in 24th place. And to clarify, I want to reiterate, the reason why I'm going to 24 is because there's 4 expansions that are in the top 20. And because there's 4 expansions in the top 20, I want to include some base games. So I tried to go as low as I needed to go. Actually, now that I'm looking at, I need to go to number 25 or 26. Ugh. All right, too late. I decided you're going to see my top 19 base games that I like, I guess. And then you're going to see, this is right, top 20. Oh, I see. Sorry, my top 20 has 3 expansions, and then there's another, okay, all right. I figured it out. Past me figured it out. Current me is just going to do the video. So Pax Transhumanity. Pax Transhumanity is basically a game where you're trying to build companies, solve problems, and do maneuvering with seven actions. and you're trying to win. You're trying to accomplish the goals before your opponent does. You're trying to have the most points by the end of the game, and it has a variable ending and it has a moving target. This game at one point in time was very high on my list. I would argue that this game is higher than, actually it is, okay, kind of. I would argue that this game is higher than Terraforming Mars, which is a game that a lot of people know and love. For me personally on the list, I did a whole 2-hour video where I explained all the rules of the game exhaustively. That took like 5 takes to do, but I finally did it. But Pax Transhumanity is a game that I do enjoy a lot. I have the game inside of a storage box with the rest of the Pax games, or small box Pax games. But essentially, yeah, it's a really fun game. I like it a lot. It's very what's I'm looking for? It's very sequential? No. Procedural. It's very procedural. It's a very procedural game, and I love that proceduralness. One of the reasons why it fell from grace for me personally is that eventually after playing a ton, I kind of started to understand that the moving target of the end game is really frustrating when you're playing a game that you're playing for that long, and then the target keeps moving as far as, how do you score points? Oh, my strategy is going to win me 10 points. And then the target moves slightly to the left. It's like, now my strategy is going to score me 2 points. Like, that doesn't feel good. When you're playing for so long and you're trying so hard to get those points in maneuver, and then you just end up with 2 points because of random. So I think the chaos factor in this game just kind of took the game down over time for me. I do still enjoy it a lot. I do still want to play it a lot more, and I appreciate this game greatly. So number 24, Pax Transhumanity. All right, where am I putting these games? I guess I'm putting them over here. All right, the next up for number 23 is going to be Lost Ruins of Arnak. So funny story, Lost Ruins of Arnak. I taught a group of friends how to play Lost Ruins of Arnak, and I taught my friends how to play it wrong. If you guys check out my friend's YouTube channel that I do videos with, his name is Bear. His channel is Friendly Neighborhood Gamer. Raleigh NC, or sorry, Friendly Neighborhood FNG Raleigh NC. So you can check him on Twitch, and I can shout him out here on Twitch. Oh, by the way, I'm live streaming on Twitch. So if you guys like watching people live stream their stuff, feel free to check me on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/CulBlu. That's CULBLU. I am here on Twitch. So yay, glad we're all here. Okay, but as far as that goes, yeah, I taught the game wrong, and one of our mutual friends always looked at me sideways. So that's a little fun fact. Anyway, going back into the game, Lost Ruins of Arnak is a game that I do enjoy. I like playing this game digitally, so I like playing on Board Game Arena. It is enjoyable playing Board Game Arena. This is also another board game that I don't mind playing physically in person. It's just a little bit of a bear to kind of set up, no pun intended. So playing on Board Game Arena has been nice. I've enjoyed my experiences with it. I have not played this game a ton with all the expansions. I have played a good bit with the base game, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty good. I have all the expansions except for the newest one at the time of recording this, which is the big box campaign one. I thought about getting it, but I was like, I don't like Lost Ruins of Arnak that much. I mean, I like it enough to get the rest of the expansions, but just not that one. So we'll see. We'll see. I do want to try to get this game to the table more, so I'll see if I can talk to Bear and maybe do a playthrough with him along with some of our friends. But yeah, Lost Ruins of Arnak, that's going to be our number 23. This one is where it is. I think it's in the right place because it's not like, I want to play the game, but it's also like, it's an interesting game. I like a lot what it does. All right, the next game on our list is Civolution. So I have not finished a full entire game of this game, but I love so much the idea of this game. I love what I see from this game. I love everything about this game from the visual aspect of like what it's doing and what it's trying to do. So as a result of that, this game did score pretty high on my list because I do remember it fondly from the 2 times that I attempted to play through. I never finished a full playthrough. So I do want to actually have this hit the table with my group of friends to see if we like it as much as I hope we do. But essentially, this is a civilization building game. You have a giant tech tree that you're trying to build out, and you're putting these cards, or you're slotting these cards into the spots to give you different boosts and different techs, and you're trying to get sets. You're trying to do set collection with that to get the colors to match and give you more technology, give you more ability. And you're moving around the map, you're taking over spaces, you're getting area and stuff, and you're trying to go up on the technology tracks as you go. I'm a huge fan of having a lot of levers to pull. I'm also a huge fan of having like a tech tree of some sort. And you'll see that on one of my games that's a little bit higher on the list, that tech trees are definitely a draw for me. But Civolution, like I said, it's a little bit lower on the list because I haven't had a lot of time to play it. I've also heard people say that this game is very wide but shallow, and that concerns me a little bit. Like I said, I haven't played a full game of it, so I haven't had the first-hand experience of that. But I take the word of kind of the collective speaking about it, kind of at face value, and I take this kind of the guiding light, if you will. So, hope that this game will hold up as we go along, but for right now, it is currently on spot number 22 on my list. And I actually need to get up so I can rearrange some of these games and get my table clear for the next batch of games and grab the, oh, I lied. Wait, where'd I, oh, it's over there. Sorry. And grab the next game that is on the list, which is number 21. And number 21 on our list is gonna be Clinic, the extension. So this is what I meant by I included the expansions for Clinic. So Clinic, the extension, the first extension, I think I remember very fondly, has a lot of really good things. It's a nice balance approach for things that it adds to the game. And I do think that if you are interested in playing Clinic and you want to have just a little bit more than the base game, I think that this is a great starting point and stopping point. There are currently, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's currently 10 expansions, or 11 if you include the campaign book, and you do not need all 10. You do not need all 10. I guarantee you do not need all 10. This has a lot of variety that it gives you. It gives you modules, and these modules can be added or removed, so you can kind of have the experience that you want to have. So you can make the game a little bit harder. You can make the game a lot easier. It's a lot of different things that you can do with Clinic, the first extension. And like I said before, I'm a huge fan of Clinic, the base game, and I'm a huge fan of Clinic, and I have everything for it. But this one is a good starting point if you want to play Clinic. So it's currently 20th or 21st on my list. There are other Clinic-related things higher up on my list, so we'll see those as we go along. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Clinic, since that'll show up later. All right, moving on. Number 20. This is not the proper representation. One sec. I'm probably going to be doing a lot of getting up and getting down, or sitting down. So I don't even know why I'm just bothering sitting down. I should just keep standing the whole time. But next on the list is going to be G.I. Joe the deck building game, as you see on the table. And for this one, like I said before, I did split up G.I. Joe the deck building game into just the base game and the Raise the Flag expansion. As I mentioned before, the Raise the Flag expansion makes a campaign version of this, but I'll talk more about that in a split second. But G.I. Joe the deck building game is essentially a deck building game. It's very much you kind of go in. Oh no. Oh no. 1 second. Yes, sorry, I'm on Twitch. Yes, I do have a bot that did a thing that gave a warning. I'm sorry. Yes, hello. Okay. Sorry, this is one of the fun things about doing live streams on Twitch is that I forget that I did a new thing. But 1 second, let me fix that. And settings. There we go. Now it's all fixed. Okay, sorry. Oh, I hit 2 buttons. All right, that might be too much power, but we'll deal with that later. Okay, all right, so going back to what I was saying, G.I. Joe the deck building game is a deck building game in the sense that you start with a small, weak deck and then you build yourself up. You're recruiting G.I. Joe, or you're recruiting the Joes, you're recruiting different vehicles, different weapons, different technologies, and you're trying to go out and fight Cobra. So if you know anything about the G.I. Joe world, then this is pretty much everybody's here. Like the Smash Brothers says, they're all here. And it's pretty fun for a two-player or a solo two-handed experience. So I do like this game a lot. And what I usually do when I play this is kind of just put the game in, or set the game up, start playing it, and put some G.I. Joe on YouTube and just like listen to like a live stream of it. And it's just a nice little fun time listening to G.I. Joe show, cartoon, the old school cartoon, or even the new school stuff. while playing this, and that's just like, you know, just kind of pass the time. It's just like a nice little feel-good game. So that's why it's number 20 on the list. But I did mention before that I included Raise the Flag, which is the campaign extension. I don't think this one scored that high on the list because I feel like playing a campaign version of this game is gonna be miserable. So while I do enjoy and like the game, I don't enjoy and like it that much. So it's number 20 on my list, and I think that's an appropriate spot for G.I. Joe the deck building game. But I bring out this box to show that I have pretty much all the expansions for it. So here's all of my stuff. I have it organized inside of here. This is me kind of showing off that, hey, look, it all fits inside of a Gamegenic dungeon if you want to put it in there. I wouldn't recommend that though, because it's a little bit expensive. You should get a cheaper one. Anywho, G.I. Joe the deck building game, not much to say outside of the fact that it's just a nice little feel-good game for me personally. I didn't grow up with G.I. Joe, the TV show. I just knew that it existed. So it was kind of nice to kind of just go into this blind, learn about the characters, like I said, watch the shows in the background, and just kind of learn more and more about the the military propaganda, the U.S. military propaganda that is G.I. Joe. Ain't it great? Oh man, don't we love that imperialism? All right, moving on. Number 19 is probably going to be a shocker to a lot of you out there. So number 19 is going to be Shia, Legends of a Drift System. So I will say, just to spoil this for everybody, and I know that we're all going to be watching, I know that we're all trying to figure out what my top 5 is. I'm going to let you know, because for some of my friends watching this, for people that hear me talk about board games all the time, if you watch my channel, if you've been here for any amount of time, you know that Shia Legends of a Drift System is my favorite game. And I want to say that the base game is not my favorite game. The expansion, and again, I'm spoiling it because I don't want people to freak out. The expansion, Shia Legends of a Drift System, the Embers of a Forsaken Star, is number 1 on my list. So again, I'm spoiling, my apologies ahead of time. Number 1 on my list is Shia's Legends of a Drift Systems expansion, and that's because I think that the base game is very lacking without that expansion. So it is number 19 on my list, as you see here, and again, apologies for spoilers if you didn't want spoilers, but number 1 on my list is the expansion, the base game plus the expansion, but number 19 is Shia Legends of a Drift System, and I do like this game a lot. I do think that roll and move is not my favorite mechanic, and I really detest roll and move mechanics, as in you roll the dice and you move a certain amount of space, because it doesn't give you a lot of control. It doesn't give you a lot of agency over things. But I love everything else about this game. I love the world building that you feel like you're doing. I love just kind of the freedom to just go out and fly out and do whatever you want. And then you feel like you're becoming more powerful as you go along. And you're trying to compete with your opponents. You're trying to blow up your opponents. You're trying to do missions. It just feels nice. It feels fun, open world, sandbox type situation. And it's just a nice feel-good game. And again, before everybody freaks out, Shia Legends of a Drift System, Embers of a Forsaken Star is number 1, so I'll talk more about this game later. I'll talk more about this game later, but the expansion plus the base game made it number 1, but without the expansion, the base game is only a 19 on my list, and that's how highly I think of the expansion. And I'll talk more about why it's higher on my list when I talk about the expansion at number 1, so feel free to skip to that if you're just interested in hearing me say that. Otherwise, let's go ahead and move on to number 18, because I'll talk more about this later. That's a bad idea. So number 18 on my list is going to be Terraforming Mars Prelude. So this is what I said. I included expansions in my list, and as a result, some expansions really made the game. And because some expansions really made the game, that really meant that I had to think critically about, do I like the base game or do I not? So Terraforming Mars itself is pretty low on my list, relatively speaking. Let me double check. Ooh. Why isn't it searching? Okay. So Terraforming Mars is number 40 on my list. Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, which is the Race for the Galaxy version of Terraforming Mars, that is number 34 on my list. So Terraforming Mars as a game, I think it's solid. I think it's nice. It's in my top 50. But the expansion Prelude, I think you must play Terraforming Mars with Prelude. I have not played with Prelude 2. My friend has it, and maybe one day I'll get to play it too. But I don't like Terraforming Mars enough nowadays to kind of justify sitting down and playing it all and getting everything else. But Terraforming Mars Prelude is where it's at. It basically gives you the flavor of all Terraforming Mars, but essentially you get to skip the first 6 turns, which feels great, or 5 turns, which feels great. It gives you some starting cards that you get. They give you some specialties and some benefits that your opponent doesn't get, and some extra early tags, and it feels nice. It just feels good because it takes a game that I think is really nice in the engine building world, and it just basically skips those first 6 awkward turns. And you just go straight in, guns blazing, or I guess rovers blazing, ready to terraform Mars and try to have the best victory with your strategy. So I do like Prelude a lot. That is why it scored pretty high on the list. Like I said, the rest of the Terraforming Mars stuff does not have a representation higher in my list. I think I've grown past enjoying Terraforming Mars. That doesn't mean I think Terraforming Mars is a bad game. It's just I feel like I've grown past it. So that's just where I'm at. So take that how you will. Take that however you will. All right, so number 17 on our list is going to be River Valley Glassworks. Yes, so this game is one that you see us play a lot if you watch my friend's live stream whenever we're doing one of his Barely Canon series. Again, that's my friend. Oh, sorry, we got a question in chat here. This is from Chai Doodle, says, so are these top 20 of all time or of a certain category? Good question. This is top 20 of all time for me right now. So top 20 of all time for me at this time. But number 17, River Valley Glassworkers. River Valley Glassworkers is a nice kind of, I don't know, it's just, I know some people cringe when this term is said, but it's a nice cozy game. I know some people cringe at that word. I know some people cringe at that phrasing. But what I'm saying is that you kind of just, you pick up your stones, you put them down, or sorry, you pick up your stone, you put it in the thing, you take your stones, you build your little grid, and then you just kind of get your points. It just feels nice. It's just a nice, relaxing game. It's not nearly as relaxing as something like Gentle Rain, which I would argue is more of an activity than a game. Not to disparage that game, Gentle Rain, but this is definitely my type of cozy game because it feels like I got a lot of strategy, I got a lot of depth that I can have in trying to okay, push my luck by hoping that these pieces come out, or maybe just try to risk it by putting some stones out that my opponents might take before I get back. And just in general, it just feels good. It just feels like a nice flow, feels like a good game, and it's perfect for the Barely Canon series because in the Barely Canon series from Friendly Neighborhood Gamer, FNG Raleigh NC is his channel if you want to go check him out on Twitch. For everything for him, we have episodes to where we just kind of do like a podcasting, talk about things, talk about hey, do you like this show, or hey, new D&D things come out, what do you feel about it? And this game is great because people can be engaged while doing something without having to spend too much time focusing. This game doesn't demand your focus. Essentially, once it's your turn, you kind of figure out what you're doing your turn, and then you kind of go along. So it feeds itself well to that casualness of it, and I do think it's a good game. I do agree that this game lacks some depth when you do play it a lot with multiplayer, and some of that depth comes back when you play solo because you have different modes that you can play, different opponents you can play against, and that's nice, and they play different. But otherwise, I like it. It is number 17 on my list, and it will stay there. Okay, so it's number 17. So now, number 16. Number 16 is going to be Stellar Horizons 2, this massive monstrosity of a game. So I have only played this game solo. I have yet to get my group of friends to coordinate them to all come together so we can sit down and play it. But it is on my list of things to do. And Stellar Horizons 2 is a game that is massive. It is basically a giant space opera of a game. And it has a giant tech tree, actually. Let me just show the tech tree, because I'm very happy about this tech tree. I'm a little upset, not very, but I'm a little upset at some of the implications of the tech tree, given the long game. But this is the tech tree. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that beauty. Isn't it beautiful? Look at that. I don't even know what's going on. It just looks nice. So this is a game that basically you're in space. You're trying to build your settlements, trying to fly around, shoot people and stuff, fight, solve problems type thing. And you also have a combat system that is, I think it does involve dice. Yeah, it does involve rolling dice, and that's fine. But this to me feels really good. It feels really good as a game. I really want to feels really good as a game when I played solo, let me say it that way. And I do really want to sit down and play with some of my friends. I think that I might cap this game out at like a 4-player game, but it can play up to 7 people, so take that how you will. But all said and done, I've enjoyed my experience greatly with this game. I've enjoyed exploring the world, trying to build a different, well, it's not really exploring the world, but existing in the world, I should say. Interacting with the mechanics, trying to build up my base and be efficient, trying to build my technology, so I can try to, okay, I need to do this before I can do this, so let me do this instead, and I'm gonna plan out my turn for like the next 3 turns, because it's gonna take me 3 turns to do it. That just feels good. So that just feels good, that feels great, and I don't really have much else to say outside of, it's a game that I'm looking forward to playing multiplayer. It is currently number 16 on my list, and I think that's about a fair place for it. I would argue, personally, that I would actually put this lower on my list, but the way the ranking came out, this came out at number 16, so sure. The reason why I put it lower on my list is because I don't think that this game will have long-term legs, because the thing, I guess I'll say it now, the thing about the tech tree is that if you play the full game, if you play the full campaign that it says, which is basically just an 8-hour session of the game, you get it all done in one day, but you commit a whole day to it. By the end of the game, you'll lose points if you don't have all the tech. And actually, let me just show you instead of tell, because I think it's worth showing here. Let me see. Is it on the sheet? No, it's not on the sheet. These are player reference sheets. Sorry, I don't mean to make this a deep dive into Stellar Horizons 2, but I do want to point this out because I was a little bit annoyed that this was a situation. I think it's at the end of the player's guide. Nope. Rulebook. Let's check the rulebook. And we can also zoom in on the camera. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the camera. Oh, I didn't zoom in enough. Okay, all right. I said in, not out. There we go. And my controller disconnected. All right, that's fine. I can do it from here. So I do just want to show the scoring. So the scoring was very disappointing in this game. And let's see, Terraforming Worlds. I feel like it was on this page. I also do not like this rulebook. If you have watched my review of this game, and sorry, my first impressions, I haven't done a full review, but if you watch my first impressions, you'll know that I very much do not like this rulebook. Okay, so campaign end, there's a whole bunch of scoring that you can do, and here, this part, this is the tell. This is the part I don't like. This right here is the killer for this game for me. It's the reason why I think that this one would not have long-term legs unless I had a group that just really loved it. And what this is that I'm pointing to is you lose 5 points at the end of the game for each technology that you did not develop. And what that's referring to is that's referring to this giant, grand, beautiful tech tree right here that I was talking about earlier. And it's saying that if you do not have this whole thing filled out by the end of the campaign, you lose 5 points for each one. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? That's so limiting. Because what it's doing is discouraging people from going from like a rush strategy. Now, I just want to clarify. You can't really do a rush strategy in this game because the game ends at a certain point towards the end of the game, and there's nothing that an individual person can do to make the game end faster. I guess except for just destroy other opponents, maybe. But what this is saying is that if you do not have every single technology by the end of the game, then you're gonna lose 5 points for each one. And the implication is that the game expects you to have every single technology. So it's like, where's the uniqueness? Now the uniqueness of each faction comes from the individual cards that people can play and add to your faction. So there is still space and room for you to build like unique things and be very different from your opponents. But that alone knocks the game down for me personally from like well, I guess it landed in 16th place, but I personally put this like maybe 25th, maybe even 30th. But no, it earned its place, so it lives here at spot number 16. Moving on to number 17 is going to be Gaia Project. Ooh, that was loud. Sorry, number 15, sorry. Number 15 is gonna be Gaia Project. So Gaia Project, I don't know what to say outside of I like this game a lot. This game has personally replaced Terraforming Mars for me. So it's not that I won't play Terraforming Mars, it's just that I would rather play this instead. So if you ever put up Terraforming Mars as a game, even with Prelude and all the fancy bells and whistles, I would rather just play a base game of this. I do have the expansion for Gaia Project, but I have not played it yet. but I do play this game a lot digitally on my tablet and on Board Game Arena with some friends. But essentially, Gaia Project is a space settlement type game. You are a specific faction. Each faction is very different, and you're trying to, following very specific mechanics and following very specific rules, you're trying to settle, like build settlements, make federations, or make clusters of settlements, and score points while spending resources. And you're doing all this in the course of 5 rounds. So you have, or it's not 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds. So by the end of the 6 rounds, the game, you want to, just kind of do your turns and kind of win the game. It's a pretty fun game. It is very convoluted to learn, and is also kind of convoluted to teach. So that makes it a little bit annoying sometimes to kind of get new people into it, because the mechanics are there. It's just that it's sometimes a game's design language will tell you exactly why you're doing a thing, and Gaia Project is not that kind of game. So it's a lot of frustration on your first 2 or 3 playthroughs. And this game is definitely at fastest, especially the brand new player, at fastest in 2-player game, a 2-hour game. More like a 3-hour game, 3.5-hour game. So that means that you have to be pretty invested. You have to be pretty invested to try to sit down and play this game with new people and have fun. So take that how you will. Take that however you will, but it is important to note. It is important to note that I am a fan of this game, and I do think it's earned a spot in the 15th place. I agree with that. I don't think it should be any higher, especially considering what other games are on the list. But it's a game that I do enjoy playing. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the next game on the table while I move the rest of the game so I can have space, because we're about to run out of space here. So the next game on the list is gonna be Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, and hopefully I don't lose signal while I'm walking across the room here. But Distant Skies is on the list. Sleeping Gods is the base game, or the first one. This is not the expansion, but the first Sleeping Gods, I think it's definitely lower on the list. It might have dropped pretty low on the list. Actually, let me check. Sorry, let me get back to my computer. And Sleeping Gods is, yeah, the original Sleeping Gods is 52nd on the list. So this Sleeping Gods Distant Skies is basically usurped for me personally. Sleeping Gods is the first one. And that's mainly because I think I like the idea. I like the idea of the first Sleeping Gods. I enjoy the experience that the first Sleeping Gods gave me. But one of the things that I detest, one of the things that I kind of hate in hindsight, is how fiddly it was to manage your crew between missions and between turns. So because of that, the crew management part was not my favorite. And also the combat in Sleeping Gods was one of those things where sometimes it's like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to do this? I'd rather not have to do this. So Sleeping Gods Distant Skies has addressed a lot of that. It turned the combat into a little bit faster. I wouldn't say that much faster, but a little bit faster. It gives you some nice dice rolling mechanics that you can add into it, or that it adds into it, which is nice. So you can kind of get a plus or minus for yourself or for the enemy. And it just made a little bit more, made a lot more fun. So essentially what this was this is taking the formula for the first Sleeping Gods and sprucing it up quite a bit to the point to where it feels nice and enjoyable and good. So yeah, I think overall it's a great iteration of the game, and that essentially helps the game feel really good. And it also does the same thing of like telling a story. It's a campaign game, so it does take a little bit of a commitment to sit down and play. But that's kind of the way it is. Like you go into this game to play a campaign. You go into this game to have a nice story. You can do multiple playthroughs if you want to, and you can do different paths. It's a really nice and fun game, and it's cooperative. So if you like storytelling games, you like full co-op games, this is your game. But this is definitely a good version of Sleeping Gods. So Sleeping Gods as a series has 3 games. It has the Primeval one, which is or Premier Primeval, I think, and that's like a smaller box, smaller box, one-shot story that it tells. I think you can finish that in like 5 hours or 6 hours in one sitting. And then it has Sleeping Gods, the first one that came out, or I guess the official one that came out. And that one is not on the list. That one's 52nd on the list, like I said before. And then it has this one, Distant Skies. I think you're not missing anything if you go straight to Distant Skies. That's just me on a personal level. So take that however you will. Sleeping God Distant Skies, I think it has earned this spot on the list at number 14 for me. So we'll put that over to the side in this newly acquired space. Oh, we've got a chat here. Says, it looks like Chai Doodle in Twitch chat says, there's no way your table is that clean right now. Yeah, it is. It is actually, there's a lot of board games over there. There's some board games over here, and there's some board games down over here. So the spot that you're looking at is very clear and clean. That's correct. That's all you need to know. It's all about perception, right? All right, so next up on the list is gonna be Revive. So Revive has a box strap like the other ones do because this box is a little unruly and I have a custom storage solution. But, oh no, that's upside down. Okay, I gotta fix that. I do not have OCD, I promise. I just don't like things to not look correct, you know? It just, why does it need to not look correct? That's so rude. All right, so Revive is a game that if I were to make a separate list, that separate list will be games that I would play digitally, because I think the list would change a lot. First of all, not every game that's on my list of top 24 is actually all digital. So for instance, Shia, Legends of a Drift System is not digital. And oh, hello, Board Game Bard. Welcome, welcome. I'm doing my top 24 and I'm on number 14. Nope, I lied, 13. Doing my top 24, so I finally used PubMeeple to do all the stuff. So yeah, it took a while. But here we are, making a video about it, yeah. But essentially, Revive is a game that I think would definitely be high on the list. Maybe even, I dare say, it will be like number 2 or number 3. I don't know what number 1 would be, but if I had a list of digital-only board games, or board games that I would play only digitally, I think Revive is definitely there. And for context, if I were to make a top 10 list of board games that I would play digitally, I think Heat would be on the list in the top 25 at least. So Bear, if you're listening, I think Heat is a fine game to play digitally. So that's just me. Anyway, going back to Revive, it's a game that I enjoy playing digitally, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because it placed as high as it did on the list because I can play it digitally on Board Game Arena. If I could not play it digitally on Board Game Arena, I would not put this anywhere high on the list because there's a lot of complicatedness that comes with this game, a lot of fiddliness that comes with this game that I don't particularly enjoy. And because of that, it kind of leads it away from being higher on my list. So it is here on my list because I consider the digital play along with the physical play, but now that I've got the disclaimer out of the way, this game is great. I love it. I love it. It's engine building. It gives you a lot of like, you know, if you do this, then you can do this. And because you did this, you can do this. And because I did that, I can do this. And because I did this, it's going to give me 7 points. And then I can do this and it gives me 4 points. And I was like, yeah, that's just the crunchiness. I just love it. It feels so good. Granted, I only want to do that digitally. Doing it in person, nightmare. But doing it digitally, so that way the computer can keep track of it, or that the things working in the background can make sure that you're not doing a move that's illegal, or you're not accidentally picking up 2 instead of 1 of a thing. That's where it's at. It gets very messy playing this in person, especially given that you can chain so many things together in Revive. Then it just yeah, digitally only for me personally. I do have a physical copy of it because I want to support the developers and also, the designers and all the artists and everything. And I do have the expansion as well physically. But like I said, I would personally play it digitally. I know I've said that 50 million times, you guys don't care anymore. But what I'm saying is that I like this game a lot. I like the feel that this game gives me. I like the things I can do with this game, and it just feels good once you got those engines going, and you can just like, you know, do this because of this, and then this gives you the one resource you need to finally do that action. It just feels good. It just feels so good. So it's a really good feel-good game. Is a lengthy game for sure. It is a chunky game to kind of crunch into. So do not just kind of go in this thinking you'll get out of it in 90 minutes. This is definitely a 3-hour board game in my opinion, especially if playing it in person. But Revive, I think, has definitely earned a spot as number 13 on my list, especially if I'm considerate of the digital play. If there was no digital play, this game would probably be down there with Terraforming Mars, to be honest, because I just don't want to deal with keeping track of stuff. Okay. All right, moving on. Next on the list is going to be Rolling Heights, number 12 on the list. So number 12 on the list is Rolling Heights. This is a game that I haven't played in a while, and while I was doing my list, I was like, I do enjoy that game. You know what? I like that game a lot. I might just do another playthrough with my friends of this game. So it's a game that's existed on my shelf quietly. I kind of forgot that I had it. Not that I forgot I had it, but it just, you know, I have all these new board games coming in all the time because I just, you know, have no self-control and keep buying things. Not because people are sending me games, but hey, publishers, developers, designers, if you want to send me games, feel free to send me games. My inbox is open. But Rolling Heights is a game where you're basically drafting, well, I guess you're not drafting tiles, but you're buying tiles to put in the city, and then you're trying to get resources to do so. Oh, sorry, well, okay, let me take a step back. You're rolling meeples instead of dice, which is very wild. It's a very strange thing, trust me, but it works. You're rolling meeples, and those meeples will give you resources depending on how they land. And then with those resources, you'll be buying tiles, and you'll be putting them in the board, you'll be building a city, and you'll also be placing resources on them to finish and complete the building. And the thing I like about this game is this game has a really nice table presence. It looks really nice. It has a 3D view, which is why it won't work too well on stream. I think I have done a playthrough of it. You just saw the top-down view. It wasn't the most ideal thing in the world. But this game is just really fun. It's just nice. It feels like you're playing with Legos as you're building, and it's just such a good city building game. And it's cool because not only is it a city building game in concept, but you're actually literally building a city brick by brick as you go along, and that feels really cool, really fun. I think one of the things that kind of keeps this game from getting higher on my list personally is that it does get very fiddly is the wrong word, but it gets very strategically complex as you start getting further and further and further into the game. It's something that doesn't seem as apparent when you're first starting off, when you're first kind of in those first few rounds. But once you get to like round, I would say round 10, 11, you start having to strategize more, and you start saying, okay, what is this tile doing? Okay, that tile does that. Okay, if I get this tile, and then I put this one over here, that triggers this, and that will also give me the scoring for that, and then I can get points for this because of this. Okay, hold on. What if instead of this one, I got this one, and this one lets me get that one anyway, and then if I roll my meeple and my meeple lands correctly, I can get a second one, and it just gets into the AP, chaining thing. So it's not that it's not welcome, it's just that it was unexpected. I like it. I'm happy it's there, and I'm proud of it for what it does. So again, take that how you will. Sorry, just take a sip of water. Take that how you will. It's a game I enjoy a lot, and I think it has earned its place as number 12 on my list. Notably, I think it's important to point out that this game, Rolling Heights, again, I've kind of forgot it exists in my collection. Of course, PubMeeple, when I was doing my my sorting and ranking and everything, it didn't let me forget. And as I was remembering, I was like, oh, this game's a lot of fun. This game beat out Shia, the base game. I just want to let you know how much the expansion for Shia Legends of a Drift System helps out the base game. Again, for those who might not have seen it already, for those who are watching along, or for those who are skipping around, Shia Legends of a Drift System is my favorite board game, but the expansion is number 1 on my list. So I'm spoiling that outright, so people don't have to, I'm not going to bury the lead. But the base game is number 19 on my list of top 24. So the reason I'm pointing that out is because I think Rolling Heights is such a good game that it beats out Shia Legends of a Drift System, one of the games that I proclaim to be my favorite. Now, with the expansion, it doesn't stand a chance, but anyway. Sorry, with the expansion of Shia Legends of a Drift System, this doesn't stand a chance. But still, I think it's a pretty solid game, good buy, and definitely worth every penny I paid for it, which I think I paid $80 for it. Didn't feel good at the time, but I guess it feels good now. All right, next on the list is number 11. Number 11 is going to be Fields of Arle. This is a game that I got recently. I think definitely within the last 3 months, 3.5 months. I don't know. I got it somewhat recently, and it is a game that I do enjoy quite a bit. Again, it kind of fits into that cozy world of game, although it's not really cozy in the brutality that exists within it. Which is very strange for me to say out loud. But what I mean by that is like the resource management in Fields of Arle is very tight. And I guess I should probably explain a little bit more about what it does. So Fields of Arle is basically a game where you're essentially trying to build, you're building out your fields, you're a farmer. So you're trying to, raise cattle, you're trying to build buildings, you're trying to, sell things to the market, and you're trying to basically do actions to prepare for the harvest, and you're also preparing for the summertime, so you can have the next time. It's broken in 2 phases. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's very procedural, and again, I like proceduralness in my board games apparently, so that's the thing to highlight. But Fields of Arle is a game that, to me, I guess, if I had to contextualize it, Stardew Valley has a board game. And I don't like the idea of Stardew Valley, the board game, from what I've heard of how it plays and what I've seen of how it plays. I've never watched a full playthrough of Stardew Valley, the board game, but this is Stardew Valley, the board game for me. So again, take that how you will. If you like Stardew Valley, cool. If you don't like Stardew Valley, avoid this. There's no dungeon fighting in this one though, so that's not that part. But it just feels like the farming part, like the managing your farm, you know, kind of, you know, trying to make sure you slaughter the correct number of animals, make sure you have the correct amount of wood, make sure you have the correct amount of stones and stuff. It just feels nice to have like that kind of resource management style game in a farming simulator type deal that doesn't feel like it's just trying to like shove something else down your throat. And I guess this is a great time to mention that my only other experience of a farming style game like this that I like, actually two other experiences, will be Clans of Caledonia, which I wouldn't consider a farming type simulator, and Caverna, Cave versus Cave, specifically the Cave versus Cave version. So I've never played Agricola. I've heard great things about Agricola. I also hear very not great things about Agricola. So I decided to go with Fields of Arle instead of Agricola because from what I heard, that Agricola has some brutality in the how you have to feed and what you have to do round to round. And if you don't do that, then you just have your farm will just collapse or something, or your score will just collapse. Fields of Arle has similar bones from what I heard. So this is secondhand information, take it how you will, to Agricola, but it doesn't act as brutally when it comes to feeding your people or having enough food by the end of the round. So as a result of that, I stuck with Fields of Arle, and I can also play a solo in a relatively straightforward way. I think Agricola you can too. I didn't investigate further because somebody said Fields of Arle and said, cool, bet, I'll buy that one. So I got that one. Anyway, long origin story aside, what I'm ultimately trying to say is that this feels really good. Clans of Caledonia is a little bit more of a fighting for positioning and kind of box people out. It's a lot more akin to a Terra Mystica or a Gaia Project as opposed to a farming simulator. But Fields of Arle, like I said, gives me that farming feeling, and I like that a lot. So that's why Fields of Arle is on my list at this spot. I think I have done a playthrough of this game. Maybe I have. If I haven't, I will go and do a playthrough of this game. I definitely did one with Bear. Oh, also Twitch chat is here. See, Board Game Bard says Agricola is way too tight for me. Caverna fixes that. Yes. Okay, cool. Good to hear. So people have been saying, sorry, let me not say people have been saying. I've heard that stated in Board Game Geek forums that Agricola is very like, you know, if you don't have the right resources, you're just gonna fall apart. I played Caverna Cave versus Cave, and I love like the back and forth in that specifically two-player design game of like, you know, you have these tiles you're trying to draft and beat each other to, and you're also trying to build around it. Like that felt really good. And then Fields of Arle, like I said, kind of gives me more of the cozy, I can just kind of sit back and farm. Now granted, this game does demand that you have the right things, because when you run out of wood, you know, in this game. And that's happened many a times to people I've taught the game. They said, oh, I have no wood to do the action. And to explain a little bit further for those who need context, in order to get more wood in this game for the woodcutter action, you have to spend 1 wood to get 3 wood, or whatever your level of wood, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 wood, or I think 5 is the cap. So if you have 0 wood and you need wood, you can't do the woodcutter action because you need to have 1 wood to get the wood that you would need to do the other stuff. So it's a little frustrating. And this game does have that brutality for not planning properly that exists within it. But like I said, like Board Game Bard has pointed out, Agricola kind of has a little bit more of a tighter system. And I think in Caverna, from like I said, I played Cave versus Cave twice with my partner. And the feeling that I got for that one is like, if you run out of resources, it's not the end of the world. You just won't be able to be as fast as you want it to be. So I feel like Caverna might be more forgiving. I don't know if that's true, but there you go. Okay, all right, enough waxing poetically about Fields of Arle. It is my number 11 here on the list. Okay, all right, I might have to move games here soon. But before I do, we're gonna talk about my number 10. So, yeah, my number 10. So this is an interesting game on my number 10. I would like to say before I pull this game out for number 10, I wanna say for everybody out in the audience, I have my very specific likes and like things that I like in a board game. And as a result of that, I might like a game more that you might like less. And you might like a game less that I like more. So that's just me kind of trying to poison the well before everybody gets all up in arms. I will say that there is a representative for this game I'm bringing up. But this is me basically signifying and signaling that the game coming up is a darling game for a lot of people, and some people are going to call blasphemy for me putting it at number 10 on my list. And number 10 on my list is Castles of Burgundy. So, okay, let me explain. Before everybody freaks out, Castles of Burgundy is number 10 on my board game, or on my list, because I have not finished a full board game of this. I have not finished a full playthrough of this board game. The reason why it's still so high on my list is because of the renown that this game has and because of the other version of the game that I like more than this. So again, just to calm everybody down, just so everybody doesn't like get the pitchforks going, Castles of Burgundy, the card game, is number 3 on my list. So it's number 3, it's pretty high on my list. Castles of Burgundy, the board game, is likely going to replace Castles of Burgundy, the card game, but I played Castles of Burgundy, the card game, like 100 times, and I love that game. I love playing it solo, I love the experience that I get from it, I love what I can do in that game. And for the few people that I've taught Castles of Burgundy, the card game, that have also played a lot of the board game, they all say the same exact thing, which is Castles of Burgundy, the card game, abstracts and simplifies a lot of the actions that you do in the board game, but it basically can be used as a stepping stone to teach you how to play the board game for people who are brand new to the Castles of Burgundy world. So I said all that disclaimer, you know, disavow, please don't come at me, please don't come after me. But Castles of Burgundy, the card game, is number 3 on my list. Castles of Burgundy, the board game, is number 10. I have not finished a full playthrough of this. I keep trying to play on the app. I keep trying to play on Board Game Arena, but I don't know, something happens, I get distracted, or I get bored and I don't finish. So take that however you will. The card game I love going through, I love playing it. And like I said, with the testimony of other people who have way more experience in the board game, they have told me that the board game is the next step. So I will eventually learn how to play this. I will eventually put this on my list of things to do, and I will do a playthrough of this solo one day in the future. Just for right now, I'm not gonna do it. But Castles of Burgundy, the card game, is number 3 on my list. I'm saying that to people, just calm down. But this is number 10 on my list, and I'll talk more about the Castles of Burgundy experience once it gets to number 3. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we got a comment here. Sorry, Board Game Bard said regarding Fields of Arle, it says how much wood would a woodchuck? How much wood would a wood if a wood could wood? So, and then sorry, Chai Doodle says geez, and then Board Game Bard says I understand the setup now. Okay, yeah, the Castles of Burgundy as number 10. I know it's blasphemous. I knew that going in when I saw it at number 10 on my list, because I would rather it just not be in my top 20, and then just me talking about Castles of Burgundy the card game and how Castles of Burgundy the board game would replace it. But it placed high, so I had too much respect for that game. And then sorry, Chai Doodle said the leave-in that you gave for that is a little absurd. Yes, I agree. And the last comment here from the Board Game Bard is this is one that is fine. I personally don't understand the staying power for Castles of Burgundy. I'm really glad that it's an old game that hasn't been ignored for many shiny things. Yep, I agree. Yeah, Castles of Burgundy's staying power, I think, comes from the variability that every game can have. So it's like the same world, but you can always have like a completely vastly different game. And I know that from just playing the card game. So I can only imagine the board game. And I think there is there an expansion for Castles of Burgundy? I think the expansions are just like different maps. I don't know. I haven't. I'm not as versed. I'm just gonna stop speculating and move on to my number 9. My number 9 is gonna be Clinic, the Deluxe Edition, second extension. So, second extension is on my list. I mentioned at the earlier top part of my list, we're doing a 24 because there's 4 expansions in my top 21. So that's why I wanted to include more core board games instead of just expansions. But Clinic, the second extension adds a lot of really cool things. I think this extension, if I recall correctly, and this is what I was recalling while I was doing my list, this is the extension that gives you all the pluses and bonuses. So if you ever wanted to play a game of Clinic to where you got everything positive that you could ever have in your life, this is what you would want. If you want to just feel overpowered, you've earned $1 billion every round, your score is like 240, which is absurd in a game of Clinic, this is your expansion. So I put this one pretty high on the list because I think it's nice to have, to feel overpowered. It's nice to have a game that's very procedural and kind of in a tight box of action points, like Clinic. And it's nice to have all this extra stuff. And also, does this have pillars? Oh no, I think the first extension has pillars. Yeah, but okay, this one doesn't have pillars, but it has a whole bunch of stuff that's really nice and gives you a lot of boosts and boons. Boost and boons. Unless you really understand Clinic, or if you really played a lot of Clinic, or you have an interest in Clinic, This is not going to matter too much to you. Just know that's number 9 on my list. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about it here because I have a whole series dedicated to me playing Clinic. So feel free to check out that video series if you want to. But we're just going to move on. This is just at my number 9. Okay. All right, and I will put the next game on the table, talk about it while cleaning up as well, so I can get more space. Oh, actually, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Okay, number 9 or number 8 is going to be surprisingly Neuroshima Hex. So I say surprisingly Neuroshima Hex because I didn't expect this game to be as high on the list, but as I did mention before, I did bias my list a lot because one of the things that I did previously was that I went through, and this is for most of the people who are joining the live stream. If you're watching the video and you skipped around, thanks for watching, but I'll mention it here. I essentially, halfway through my list of trying to use PubMeeple to go through my games, I essentially stopped and said, okay, what would I put in my top 10? And I decided at that point what my top 10 would be. So Neuroshima Hex was definitely one that I wanted to get around the 9 spot. It got exactly the 9, or did I say 9? No, it got 8 spot. So I was aiming for like 8, low top 10, because I feel like I like this game a lot and I play it a lot. So I have the digital app version of this game, and this is a game that I don't mind playing physically in person. I also don't mind playing this digitally. So digitally it moves a lot faster, and I can play solo against the bot. Playing it in person, I can play with friends. So as a result of that, Neuroshima Hex is a game that I think has a lot to offer. So Neuroshima Hex is basically a war game. I guess not a war game, that's the wrong word. It's a tactical game? No, that's not a proper explanation. It's a hex grid unit placement fighting game. Again, I'm not doing this game any justice right now, but essentially it's a game that you have a lot of different factions, a lot of different armies that you can play as, and everything's hex, just like hex cardboard tokens. And you basically, every round you draw 3, or you draw up to 3, and then you play, you discard 1 and you play 2. So it kind of has like a Magic the Gathering feel, something like that. Excuse me. But one of the things with Neuroshima Hex is that it does have a lot of armies. And I have every single army except for the last 2. And one of the armies that was actually out of print because it was broken and overpowered for tournament play. So that goes a long way to say that I have a lot of this game. And as a result of that, when I was doing my list, this is kind of where I made the determination to remove expansions for some games and keep expansions. So for instance, Clinic, I have I have kept in the expansions in my top, when I was trying to figure out my top list. But for Neuroshima Hex, I removed all the expansions because it was getting too excessive. Because really, it's basically, do I like the base game, yes or no? So again, a little bit unevenness in my methodology, but I talked about that at the top of the video. But Neuroshima Hex is really good. There are some armies that I like a lot more than others. Vegas is a very bad army. If you play Neuroshima Hex and you have the choice between playing any army or Vegas, do not play Vegas. Vegas sucks. And the reason why Vegas sucks is because Vegas is very temperamental. They really need, like, they steal their opponent's tiles. So if your opponent is pretty weak or your opponent has ways to deal with you stealing their stuff, you just become powerless. Anyway, all that goes a super long way to say that this is a nice, fun game. It's very varied. It has a lot of variability. And on the app that I played in the old version of the app that I think they stopped updating back in 2012, 2013. Sorry, not that soon. Maybe like 2016, they stopped updating it. And they have a newer app that I don't have, but I have the older version. And on that version, I have basically like the base game army. So all 4 base game armies plus I think 8 of the expansion armies. And to clarify, I think there's like 20 armies total, including the base game armies. So there's definitely way more armies that I can play in real life, like with a friend, versus the ones I can play on the app, because the app, they just stopped releasing stuff for it, at least the version of the app that I have. But that goes a long way to say that I just enjoy the experience. Like, this is a game that I could be having a conversation with somebody and I'll just be playing it on my phone, like, you know, paying attention to the conversation, actively involved while playing this. Like, this is the kind of game that you know how sometimes people do YouTube videos where they're playing something, like they're playing a video game while they're talking about some complicated topic, or they're explaining like how like physics works or something. Neuroshima Hex on the phone as a digital app is a game that I can play while doing that, like while explaining, like, you know, how computers work, or explaining some very convoluted concept that requires a little bit of focus to explain. So that is how I feel about this game. That's why this game placed so highly on my list. And it is a game that I would recommend if you like two-player battler games. If you don't like two-player battler games, or if you don't have anybody else to play with, you can just use the app. The app should be in the App Store. I think it's on both the Apple App Store and it's also in the Android App Store. I don't think this is on Board Game Arena, but if it is, I need to add it to my list. I don't think it is though. But yeah, Neuroshima Hex is a pretty fun game. I like it a lot. It is number 8 on my list. Like I said, in my hypothetical top 10, I put it at number 9, kind of like the last on the top list. But number 8 is not that bad. And it has a lot of variety. Did I forget to mention that? I think I mentioned that. Okay, cool. All right. Let me get this game put away. 1 second. I'm struggling. Struggling with the box strap over here. Oh, also, I have all the armies in the base box too. Sorry, I should probably show that. Because, you know, me, I like my storage. Although, I will say, for those who like to watch my storage stuff, this is all just in plastic bags that I just gave up. Yeah, it's just... I know, my shame on stream. For somebody who doesn't like use plastic bags, they use plastic bags. But it's just more efficient to store plastic bags for this game, you know? Because what I do is I use these bags, which are makeup bags. I use these for people. They pick their bag and then they put all their tiles in. They can do the blind draw. That works. Yeah, leave me alone. I got a method. Here. All right. Also have the neoprene mat, which is pretty nice. Not necessary, but it feels good. Okay. All right, putting all this away and moving on to our number 7. So the number 7 game on our list is, oh God, okay, all right. I'm not saying oh God because it's like, oh no, number 7, how dare it? But it's just, it's a big boy. Oh, before I get to number 7 though, let me read the chat here. Let's see. Oh, Nightbot, hello Nightbot, welcome. And then Board Game Bard says, interesting pick for Neuroshima Hex. Lots of expansions with this one. Yes, lots of expansions with Neuroshima Hex. I would recommend, if you are going to get Neuroshima Hex, I don't recommend just getting everything. I'd recommend just like getting, I don't know, just pick some armies that sound cool, buy those ones, and don't worry about everything else. The game has a lot of variety, but it's not worth you spending $1 billion to get the expansions out of print. Don't do that. Okay, all right, next game on our list, like I said, it's a big boy. It is all the way over here. Oh, why'd I put it so far away? It's Arydia, The Path We Dare Tread. This is a campaign game by the people who made Shia Legends of a Drift System, so by Cody Miller and Ira Faye. It is a game that I'm still on my first campaign of because sometimes I kind of forget that it's a game that I have and then I don't play it for like 2 months and then I go back and say, oh man, I want to play Arydia. And then like I spend like 2 weekends in a row just playing Arydia. This is a lot of fun. This game is really fun. I've enjoyed my experience with it. It's basically for me kind of like, I don't want to say like if you took Baldur's Gate and made it a board game, I don't want to give it that high of an accolade, but I do think it does a lot of things very well. There are a lot of complaints about how some of the systems work, and I agree with some of those complaints about how some of the, just kind of wandering around aimlessly doesn't really help. Sometimes it's hard to see context clues, and if you're going from session to session like I do, sometimes with 2 months in between, you might forget everything that you were doing. So it takes a little while to kind of get your footing together. And if you play by the specific rules, like if you're very hardcore on the rules, and you don't let yourself go peek at things that you already seen or that you should already know, then it makes this game a little bit more brutal to kind of play over a long period of time. So that goes a super ultra long way to say that when I play this game, sometimes I will sit down and say, okay, I know I'm not supposed to see what happens next, but I'm just gonna look at what happens next first, so I can make sure I didn't do this already, because this sounds very familiar. So sometimes I'll look at the results of what things should be. It's kind of play it by my whole thing, but that's because I'm doing a solo campaign and I've been playing for the past, I think I've been playing this since the game came out, and this game came out in when did it get delivered? In February? And it's currently October? Yeah, so let me just look it up. So the release date for Arydia, The Path We Dare Tread was January. Yeah, so I got this game in, that sounds about right, January, February. And I've been playing it ever since, and it's October. So long story short, I allowed myself that leeway. That said, another thing that I have a complaint about, I know it's high on my list and I'm supposed to be speaking positively about it, but I'm trying to give everybody context before you jump into this game, because if you want to find this game, you got to pay the MSRP for this game, which is at least $250, which is a lot, because like I said, this is a big box. This is a big old box of stuff. And if it's out of print, I don't think it's out of print, but actually no, I think it might be out of print. So if it's out of print, you just double that price, so it's a $500 game. The combat system. the combat system is not bad. It's just not fun sometimes to do. I don't know how to express this outside of what happened. There was one time where I was like kind of in the flow of playing this game over the course of a weekend. So it's like I played on Friday, I was playing on Saturday, and it was Sunday, and I was kind of getting towards like the big boss, the big baddie, if you will. And every single time I in my campaign had a major fight, I would need to go back and heal. So and going back to heal would mean like walking back across the map and then spending $1 and then doing the thing. And sometimes when we walk across the map, other stuff would happen. So I just kind of got the feeling where I kind of got like to the boss before the big baddie, and I was like, can I just get everybody down to 1 health and 1 mana point and just walk home and heal and say I beat them and get the experience? And then I told myself like, no, that's not the true experience. Go ahead and play out the fight. So I played out the combat. It took like 40 minutes for me to do the combat because I was trying to make sure I was doing the rules right and stuff. And I made a miscalculation a time or two, and then the NPC, the boss or the enemy, they tricked me. So kudos to Cody and Ira for like designing something that's like keeps you on your toes. But by the time I was done, like I think one of my characters had basically gotten down to like 0 HP, but then they came back up and I got them healed, and we were all in critical states. By the time I won the fight, but everybody was down to 1 HP, and I had no mana left. And I was like, why couldn't I just skip this and get the reward? I don't know. So that goes a long way to say that sometimes I just don't feel like doing a fight. I have yet to just skip a fight. I have yet to just kind of fast track past a fight and say, okay, everybody has 1 HP and we can just move on. Because I know the purpose of this is to kind of give you a challenge. It's to kind of like, do the game things, like feel your character growing and kind of solve the puzzle of how your character is supposed to fight. But again, I've been playing this game for so long that I'm at the point is like, I just kind of want to see the end. I kind of want to get to the end and see what happens and then start over with like a different set. So that's just on me for how slow I play. Also keep in mind, I just want to emphasize that with all this complaining that I'm doing, I'm also the kind of person who when I play Baldur's Gate 3, if you play that video game, I did everything in Act 1. Like in Act 1, I tried to do every side mission, I tried to talk to everybody, I tried to like become friends with everybody, I tried to become enemies with everybody, I did everything. So it took me 25 hours in Act 1 in Baldur's Gate 3. I just want to emphasize, usually in Baldur's Gate 3, 25 hours is like the whole game. For me, I was 25 hours in Act 1 of 3 acts. So I'm as playing this game solo, I'm playing it very differently. I'm trying to suck all the bone out of the marrow, so to speak. So that's on me. So the fact that I'm finding all these fights and I'm kind of getting annoyed at having to do all these fights is on me. So take that how you will. Anyway, Arydia, a great game. I think it deserves a spot in the top list. Again, I've been kind of crapping on this whole time, but honestly, this game deserves some critiques. It is a really good game. It does do really cool things about making you feel like your character's growing. And it does a very interesting thing with the storytelling, which I like, which is it kind of has persistent story beats that happen. Sometimes you'll be in one location, you do a thing, and then the game will tell you, hey, find this card in this deck, and then replace it with the B version of the card. And like I never look at the cards like, oh, I wonder what the A version said, and I'll never know. So it kind of keeps it nice and fresh, and like maybe next time I play, I might not do the event that I'm doing, and I might see the A side of the card, and it might be completely different, and that's really fun. That's really neat. So I like everything that this game does. This game is a bit of a bear to play. I do have my complaints for it. That's why it's not higher on my list, but it did make the top 10. I do think it's a solid game. For all the campaign games that I had, Arydia is the only campaign game in my top 10. So Sleeping God, Distant Skies is the other campaign game that I have, and is that it? Is just Sleeping God? No, I feel like I have another campaign game in here somewhere. So I got Sleeping Gods, Arydia, and oh, I got okay. Well, those are the only two that I can see right now. I mean, yeah. Oh, actually, okay, maybe not, because all right. I'm just gonna keep going on my list because the next game, actually, I can just talk about it now. I don't know. Would you consider Vantage a campaign game? I don't know. Is Vantage considered a campaign game? All right. Before I get to that, let me read the chat here. All right, so the chat, we have Boardgame Bard says, interesting pick, lots of expansion. Oh, sorry, that's Neuroshima Hex. A very new one, interesting. And that was regarding Arydia from Boardgame Bard, so thank you, Boardgame Bard. It says, I enjoyed it, wouldn't breach my top 20 though. Yeah, I kind of felt a little bad about Arydia reaching the top 20, or sorry, reaching the top 10. If it was in the top 20 for me, I would be okay with that because I like the exploration and it's very fun. And yeah, so Boardgame Bard I think kind of agrees. It's like Vantage but campaign game. Oh, sorry, Vantage is not a campaign game. Correct, yes. So that is where I'm at. So I was going to say that Arydia is the only campaign game in my top 10, but it looks like Vantage could compete with it, but Vantage is a one-shot at best. It's a basically choose your own adventure one-shot. So I guess Arydia gets to claim that title of the only campaign game in my top 10. Okay, congratulations. All right. Next game on the list is going to be Vantage, as you see on the screen. Vantage, great game, very new game, very new to me, but also very new, as in it recently came out like what, 4 months ago? Is it 4 months ago? No, I feel like Vantage just came out. What is Vantage? Board Game Geek Vantage. Vantage released on July 9th. Oh wow. So Vantage recently released it. So July, August, September, October. Yeah, so I was right, about 4 months. So yeah, it's only been a few months old. So Vantage is a game that has definitely shot to the top of my list. Oh, and a question from Board Game Bard here. It says, do you have any legacy game? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So my apologies for those who skipped to the Vantage section and want to hear me talk about Vantage, but I got to rant about legacy games for a second. I avoid legacy games like the plague. The main reason why is because I really don't like Risk as a board game, and I really don't like Pandemic as a board game. And the first two legacy games that I was aware of were Risk Legacy and Pandemic Legacy. I know Time Stories exist. I know pretty much living card games are kind of legacy-ish, or legacy adjacent. There's also like Seafall and stuff like that. But yeah, anytime I see the word legacy on a board game, I say avoid. That's a game I'm avoiding. I'm actively avoiding this game because it has the word legacy in it. I think I have a legacy-like game. Oh, let me think. What game is that? Oh, actually, it would be Lands of Galzar. Yeah, Lands of Galzar. Lands of Galzar is a legacy-adjacent game where it kind of has world-changing things that can happen. But Lands of Galzar does not exist in my collection, as in I'm actively in the process of getting rid of it because of Vantage, which actually brings it back to a segue of Vantage. So Vantage is a game that I enjoy a lot. It's basically choose your own adventure type game where you're telling a story, you're walking through the world, and you are trying to not die. You're trying to not die, you're learning about the inhabitants. This game feels like a very passive play, like I'm just kind of slowly walking through the game. And I enjoy that this game doesn't pressure you to like, be hardcore gamer, chain this and chain that. You can just like kind of walk around, just roll some dice and say, oh, that looks nice, and just keep going until the game ends. And also this game respects your time in the sense that Vantage gives you usually around like the hour, well, depending on how you're playing, usually around like maybe the 2-hour mark, the game will give you an out to say, hey, if you're done playing the game, you can stop playing the game now. Or hey, if you want to keep playing the game, you can keep playing the game. So I appreciate that a lot. I think Stonemaier Games, they did a good job, or specifically Jamie Stegmaier did a really good job of kind of balancing out like the gamery things you can do with this game and then like the casual, like, casual pace. I have played this game with maybe 2 or 3 different groups, and everybody's always gotten something different. And I, as somebody who's played this game how many times, because I think I played a lot. Let me go back into my app. And while I'm doing that, let's see what the Twitch chat's saying. Let's see. It says King's Dilemma is where it's at. Okay. Well, actually, one of my friends really wants me to play King's Dilemma. And they told me it was a legacy game, and I said no. So I will, given your suggestion and given the hype that other people, or not the hype, given the praise, I should say, it's not hype if people are actively saying it, or still saying it. I guess it could be hype. But given the praise that people are giving King's Dilemma, I might go back and give it a chance. But yeah, King's Dilemma, and there's another one. It starts with an M. No, actually it might be King's Dilemma, never mind. I'm thinking about the money, because it has like the M coins or something like that. I don't know. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, Vantage. I played Vantage 7 times. There you go. And of the 7 times I played, I feel like I've seen something new every time, which is nice because this is not a legacy game. In Vantage, you're essentially kind of going through and you're exploring the same world. You're landing in different places. You're interacting with different things. Depending on what actions you pick, you might end up doing the same thing you did last time. But the game does encourage you to kind of use that information you have from previous and then try different things, try something new, go a different direction, go somewhere else. Or you can just keep doing the same exact thing and get the same exact path and get the same exact results. It's up to you. Live your life. Have your own fun in the game. I think Vantage is as close as one could get to a cozy choose your own adventure book game. Cozy, again, I'm using that cursed word cozy. I know some people cringe when they hear me say it, but what I'm saying is like this game is very approachable. And just because a game is cozy does not mean it's approachable. I just want to clarify. But this game is actually very approachable, as in somebody who might not want to play like a super complicated like Terraforming Mars, Chain Your Axis experience, or somebody who might not want to play a more involved like Twilight Imperium. Oh, sorry, is that right? Twilight Imperium? Yeah, Twilight Imperium. Like a Twilight Imperium experience. You can actually jump into this with them, and it's just basic storytelling. You know, you kind of roll some dice when it tells you to roll some dice. You choose your action as you go, and then you build up as you go. You become more powerful. You get to do more stuff. You get some consequences here and there, but the game just kind of lets you brush it off and keep going. And I like that this game doesn't pressure you to like play efficiently. This game doesn't pressure you to like be good. This game just lets you be. And that's something I think is missing in some games. Like I guess it might be the reason why I like a game like Railroad Tiles so much, because I have a lot of board games that like I like Clinic as one of my favorite board games. So as a result of that, I have games that are asking me to be super efficient. I have games that are asking me to like, you know, choose the best path or choose the most correct answer to get the most points. But it's always nice to have a game that just kind of says, hey, you know, just enjoy the stay, just enjoy the walk. Like this is where games like Gentle Rain or even River Valley Glassworks can kind of come in and just like fill in that void of just letting you play and move around, pull some levers and have fun. So I think Vantage does a really good job of existing in that space, of not really telling you to be the best gamer you can be, just saying, hey, here's a world, explore it or not. You know, you don't have to talk to that sentient. You don't have to finish that mission. You don't have to do anything. You can just walk around to the next location, and you can very much spend the game just walking from location to location, see if you can see as many locations as possible. That's up to you. Okay, all right. Sorry, going back to the chat here. Boardgame Bard says we overlap in our likes. I think Shia and Vantage we have in common for sure. Yes, yes. Also, I would like to say, going back to Shia, the reason why I call it Shia, and it's spelled Xia, is because Shia is how you pronounce the sun. That's sun in Chinese, if I'm not mistaken. And the game is spelled Xia. And in Shia, the star that's in Shia is called Shia. It's named Shia. So therefore, the sun is named Shia, which is also the Chinese word for sun. I'm saying all that as a long way to say that Cody Miller, you're wrong. The reason why I say this is because Cody Miller says the name of the proper pronunciation of the game is Zaya, and Cody's wrong. Sorry, I will die on that hill. Okay, moving on to the next game. Number 3. We're on number 3, right? No, Vantage is not number 3. That's number 6. Oh, wow. Oh man, we're on number 5. Okay, number 5 is Ezera and Nehemiah. Yeah, this game came out of nowhere for me. Like this is, what's the best way to explain why this game is a surprise in general? So, I played Hadrian's Wall, and I did not like Hadrian's Wall. Renegade Games, I have some of the Renegade games. If I'm not mistaken, Renegade is the publisher, but I think Garfield Games was the person who sold it. Yeah, Garfield Games. So I'm pretty sure Renegade Games is the publisher, and Garfield Games is the house that the designer lives in. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that I don't remember exactly why that rung a bell to me, but I just know that Hadrian's Wall was a dud. It was a game that people swear up and down for like loving solo. Hadrian's Wall is nowhere in my list because Hadrian's Wall does not exist in my collection. I'm sorry. I will not profusely apologize for Hadrian's Wall not existing in my top 10 or top anything, as much as I will profusely apologize for Castles of Burgundy, the board game, existing as number 10 on my top 20 here. Actually, was it number 10? Yeah, number 10. But I will say that Hadrian's Wall is not a game for me. I don't like it. So when I saw this game, I was like, okay, is this another Hadrian's Wall situation? Ah, God. So I kind of looked at the back of it, and I was like, okay, all right, you got some boards, and there's no role in writing. Okay, cool. All right, I can get down with this. And then I saw some cursory reviews. I tried to check Board Game Geek when I was in the store because I like to impulse buy my board games in the store with all the pressure there, as one does. Yay, capitalism. I decided, okay, fine, I'll buy the game, I'll try it out. And I bought it, I played it solo, I didn't understand what was going on, so I played it again solo, and I was like, oh, oh, I like this. Oh, this feels good. This feels great. I like this. I like what it's doing here. And then I played it again solo, this time actually watching somebody teach the rules instead of me trying to fumble through the rules, and actually played it correctly. And it felt good. And then I played with a friend. I learned some rules I got wrong, but we played it together and we really loved it. I played with another friend and we really loved it. It just hits on all cylinders. So in this game, you essentially have like 5 or 6 different arenas that exist, and you can interact with a certain number of them. But you basically use gray banners, blue banners, or red banners, and they'll allow you to interact in the different arenas. And it's not that you need to hyper focus on one arena. It's just that if you kind of, well, okay, I guess the best way to say it is that you will end up focusing more on one arena than the other, usually. But as you're playing the game, if you don't focus on some arenas, then your opponent will be able to get further along, and you'll get some negative parts for it, or you'll get some losses. Or maybe you're in situations where you can't do anything but interact in a different arena that you weren't in there. And the arenas, just to simplify for everybody I'm explaining to very vaguely, are the red arena, the gray arena, and the blue arena. But you can do a whole bunch of blue arena stuff, which is a bunch of tech tree stuff and a bunch of moving your tent around to give you resources, and you can do a bunch of that. Or you can do the red arena stuff, which the red arena is like sacrificing resources to build into like a temple, or sacrificing resources to put devotion track or something, whatever it's called. Or you can do the gray arena, which is basically building around the outer map to like build tiles that would give you resources back. Pick up resource cubes and then build towers and stuff once you clear it and once you have the resources to pay for it. It just feels good. It just feels good, feels nice. And I like that it gives you so many options and so many different ways to win. Now, I will say, after playing with one of my friends, I think we played 2 games back to back, and we kind of felt that, especially in a 2-player game specifically, it didn't make sense to do the red arena because it was too expensive and it didn't give you a lot, whereas the blue and the gray arena were way better. But that might have been just how we were playing on that particular day. That might have just been maybe just how our brains work particularly. But with all this said and done, this game is pretty interesting. And actually, I think Boardgame Bard asks a good question. Are you mostly a solo or duo, or are you mostly a solo and duo player? I'm mostly a solo player. And that's an important thing to note, because I think that this game, while I like it a lot, I don't think it actually shines its best when you're playing solo. I think this game shines best when you're playing 3 players, at least. When you're playing solo, you kind of have to suspend some disbelief. Like you have to have the suspension, was it suspension of disbelief? You have to have the, kind of just kind of let that suspension of disbelief kind of kick around a little bit. Because again, the red arena is not very, like, there's no reason to do it really. So you can play the entire game ignoring that for the most part and then score really well. Or at least that's been my experience in the 6 or 7 times I played solo. I guess maybe I'll play it more to explore that more, to explore if the red arena is actually as bad as I think it is. However, with all that's said and done, I do think it's a solid game. I think it's a great game, and I like a lot of what it's doing. I like a lot of what it's giving me. It's given a lot of good. It's given a lot of good and positive. Also, I like to do engine building games. I like to play those. I like to have games that let me do one thing because I did another thing. And this game gives me a little bit of that. Not a ton, but just a little bit. Okay, all right. That's Ezera and Nehemiah. All right. And Boardgame Bard brought up another good point in the Twitch chat there. It says, your list makes more sense in light of that info. Yes, it does. I probably should have mentioned that in my methodology, that I play most of my games solo. I do have some games that exist higher on my list because I am talking about the multiplayer experience, but, actually, there are no buts, only this. Ooh, number 4. What a transition. Number 4 on my list is gonna be Hegemony. So, this is a game that is a 4-player game. I don't care what anybody says, it's a 4-player game. You might be able to convince me it's a 3-player game, but it's a 4-player game. Anything less than 4 players does not exist in my mind. I feel the same way about John Company. John Company is a 3-player or higher game. You do not play that game with less than 3 players. If you play less than 3 players, you're gonna have a bad time. Hegemony is a game that you're essentially simulating a country that is going through some financial struggles. Kind of like the United States right now. Too soon? Too soon? Sorry. And it represents the 4 different groups, the 4 different classes, as one may call it. It represents the working class, it represents the middle class, it represents the capitalist, and it represents the state. And all 4 of those groups basically need each other to progress their goals so that way they can win. So what I mean by that is that the working class has a bunch of people, but not a ton of money in general. So the working class has a bunch of people, but not a ton of capital, not a ton of money, not a ton of resources. The middle class, in the working class will need to go get jobs at the capitalist buildings to earn money, and then with that money, they'll be able to spend it on things like get their happiness, get their healthcare, get their education. The middle class are kind of a step in between the capitalists and the working class. So I'll talk about the middle class next. I'll talk about the middle class after I talk about the capitalists. The capitalists, they have all the money, they have all the resources, but they need people to work at their places. So they don't want to pay taxes, they want to do trade across seas, and they essentially don't want to pay people if they can help it, but they need people to work at their places, otherwise they won't be able to produce the resources that they, the capitalists, will be able to sell overseas, or that they, the capitalists, will be able to sell back to the working class, or to sell to the middle class, or to sell to the state. And the capitalists are basically reliant on the work of the middle class, but they also want to like screw over the middle class, or sorry, the work of the working class, but they also want to screw over the working class and middle class. You know, kind of like real life. And the middle class are kind of in the middle. Like they have their own businesses, and they also need to work at the capitalists' buildings, but also they can work at their own businesses, like their own little mom and pop shops, and also they can just kind of do different things to like be self-sufficient and make their own resources, so they don't have to pay anybody anything. But they also want the state to kind of help them out where they can, but they don't want the state to help them out too much, because you know, if you help out the middle class too much, then the working class can take advantage of all that benefit, and then they start stealing your jobs. Again, this is basically politics, the board game, and like I just love how the system just fits, and it just essentially it ends up being like an economics class, like how do politics work? Like it becomes like a poli-sci board game all of a sudden. And there's a lot of really small, funny interactions that you have. Like the state, I didn't mention them, but the state essentially just wants to have everybody like them. But the state ends up doing things that, you know, would piss off the middle class, but the capitalist is going to be happy, and the working class is going to be okay with it. And then like you would have the working class would vote for something that the state doesn't like and the capitalists don't like, but the middle class likes it, so they start working together. And you have this very like interesting like back and forth where people are like working with each other but not working with each other to try to get ahead. And everybody's reliant on everybody else, but nobody wants to really help everybody else too much, you know? And like it just ends up being like this really interesting like four-way tug of war going on. And yes, I know that the appropriate pronunciation for some people in this world is hegemony, not hegemony, homogeny, not homogeny, that's wrong. What's the proper pronunciation? Sorry, hegemony is the way that I would say it. Hegemony, sorry, there you go. It took me a second to wrap my brain around that. Hegemony is how some people pronounce it. I pronounce it hegemony because America. That's my way of saying it. But it's a very fun, interesting game, and I think that this game could go as far as being a teaching aid. So if you have some young ones or younger ones, I wouldn't say young, but younger, like maybe in middle school, that are trying to learn about the world and how things work, playing this game with them, assuming that they can comprehend a few like mechanical, like you must do this before you can do that rules, which pretty much any middle schooler can do that. From what I've seen with how middle schoolers are nowadays, this will be great. Like great to like teach how economies work and how they interact with each other. And going into the chat, it says sorry, Boardgame Bard says, man, so many new games on this list. When did you start getting into the hobby? So good question. I started getting into the hobby. I think. My first board game was Forbidden Island, and I'm trying to think of like the oldest, newest game that I got. As in like when the game came out, I kind of bought it immediately. Oh, I know. Marvel Legendary was just coming out. The first, like the base game was just coming out when I got into the hobby. So that's for me. So I think 2016. So not like the most long in the tooth. Like was that 9 years, 10 years, getting there somewhere. I don't know. I feel like Marvel Legendary came out before that. Anyway, so that goes a long way to say that yes, I have a lot of newer games that are higher on my list. I do end up buying a lot of newer games. Like Dead Cells was in my top 50. Slay the Spire was also in my top 50, and those games are relatively new. I think it came out this year. Shackleton Base surprisingly wasn't. Oh, because I removed it because I haven't played it yet. Anyway. But yes, sorry. Going back to Hegemony, I do like it a lot. I do think it's a great game. It is a 4-player game. And it is beneficial to have the same group play the game multiple times and try different factions. So if you can get that, if you can accomplish that with your group, do that. This is a game that has a solo mode. Do not recommend. I do not recommend it. This is a 4-player game. 4-player game. You can maybe convince me for a 3-player game, but this is a 4-player game. Anything less than that is not worth it. Don't do that. Okay. All right. So that was my number 3. No, number 4. Okay. All right. My number 3, you guys might know this because I've already talked about it, is Castles of Burgundy, the card game. So again, continuing my conversation about Castles of Burgundy. So Castles of Burgundy, the board game, is number 10 because I just can't get around to sitting down and finishing it for some reason. But Castles of Burgundy, the card game, is a game that I played countless times. Actually, let me get my exact count for this one, Castles. So Castles of Burgundy, the card game, I've logged, wow, that sounds low. I feel like that's wrong. I've logged 17 plays. That doesn't mean I played 17 times though, because there was one point in time where I would take this game to work because it's such a small box. The game's not in here, by the way. It's in Castles of Burgundy, the board games box. But I played, I would take this with me to lunch at work, and I would play 2 games during my lunch break, and then I'll put it away and I'll go back to work because I can knock out a game in 30 minutes. So Castles of Burgundy, the card game, is a game that I appreciate a lot because it gave me a lot of decision space in such a small box. It does take up a lot of space. It is a pretty big game in that regard, but it is a game that gives a lot of depth in decision making. And you do have your dice rolls that are represented by cards, and that's sometimes frustrating. You know, dice be dicing, but you do have your dice mitigation that you can throw into there. So Castles of Burgundy, the card game, is in 3rd place. I do feel that if I did sit down long enough to learn Castles of Burgundy, the board game, actually, sorry, let me not say learn, to finish playing Castles of Burgundy, the board game, and then play it a few times with my friends who really love that game a lot. Castles of Burgundy, the board game, could easily replace Castles of Burgundy, the card game, as number 3 on my top 10 or top 24 list here. But Castles of Burgundy, the card game, has earned that spot because I played it a lot, I traveled a lot. I purchased this game 3 times. This is the newest purchase that I have with this box. Mostly because what would happen is I would see the game on sale for like $10, and I was like, this game is so good, I gotta buy it and give it to somebody. So I would buy the game and gift it to people. And then my old copy that exists in my lunchbox that I take with work to me from time to time, that one is all beat up around. This one's nice and pristine looking because it's only lived on my shelf. And like I said, I put the card game inside of the box because I have the Castles of Burgundy insert. And that insert has space for the card game inside of it. So, anyway, that goes a long way to say that I have a lot of respect and I have a lot of heartwarming feelings for Castles of Burgundy, the series. So I can understand why it's in a lot of people's list. I can understand why it has so much staying power. I like this version better because it's in a small box and I can carry it with me everywhere, whereas the board game I can't. But again, I feel like the more I sit down and if I were to actually sit down and play Castles of Burgundy, the board game, which I'm pointing to it because it's over there physically in my space right now, then I would actually probably replace the board game with the card game. But the card game holds a very special place in my heart because it is also one of the first. I don't know when I acquired this game, but it's definitely within the first 150 board games that I purchased. This was in that first 150, which sounds like a lot of board games, I know, but I just want to emphasize that my board game collection, according to Board Game Geek, is 689, and the games that I've rated after getting rid of some expansions for my board game ratings for PubMeeple was it 448, 442? 1 second, 442. So there's 442 games that I've kind of gone through. So this was within the first, if the 698 numbers to be believed, this is within my first, what is that, 20% of games I got? I don't know. I'm trying to contextualize these numbers and do math in real time for some reason. But Castles of Burgundy, the card game, number 3 on my list. I think it's well earned. Okay. Sorry, Board Game Bart says anything with the card game in the title is tough to put in the top 20, let alone number 3. Yes, I know, but I'm telling you that game does it for me. That game gives me the engine building. That game, well, it's not really engine building, but that game gives me like the mechanics, the proceduralness that I like. So I personally like that a lot, and I can play it solo. So again, I can play it solo, and the solo experience is just as good as a multiplayer experience in my opinion, if not better, because it moves faster. Okay. All right, so that's me there. All right, number 2 on the list is Clinic, of course it's Clinic. So this is Clinic, the base game. So if I were to take out all the expansions for Clinic, because in my top 24, you'll note that the base game, the first expansion and the second expansion were in my top 24. So yes, there's a lot of Clinic in my life, and Clinic is a game that I like a lot, but the base game, even the base game just by itself, yes, it becomes solvable at a certain point. Yes, it becomes repetitive because of the solvability at a certain point. If you just play only the base game with nothing else, none of the other modules from the expansions or extensions added, I just like it. It's just good. It just feels nice. Like, it just feels nice and familiar. Like that experience of like going through, you know, do this, then do this, then do this. Like it just, again, proceduralness in a board game feels really good to me. And engine building in a board game feels really good, or just like achieving goals, contract fulfillment, however you want to call it. That just feels fun and nice. And Clinic, the base, or Clinic Deluxe Edition, just the base game, I think has definitely earned a spot as number 2 on my list. As I mentioned before, we already know what my number 1 is because I spoiled it already, but the number 2 and the number 1 in my list, they fought back and forth, but they ultimately landed, I think, here, which is appropriate because I like Clinic a lot. I think Clinic gives a lot of things. The base game gives a lot of things. I think it's pretty strong on its own because it does have a few modules like in the base game that can kind of give you a little variability for the game. But ultimately, Clinic without its expansions doesn't really shine. But I do think it shines way brighter than Shia Legends of a Drift System as a base game by itself. So take that how you will. Again, Shia Legends of a Drift System, the base game, placed number 19 on my top 24. Clinic, the base game, places number 2. And again, I think it earned that spot. I've done a whole video series on this, and I plan on doing more videos because I gotta get those extensions, those the 269 extensions that came out, and then the 7th extension once it comes out. I gotta get those done, and then apparently there's a big box version coming out. In Alba VR is the name is French, so you don't pronounce the last letters apparently. But Alba VR, like he keeps releasing stuff, so I guess I'll just keep buying it forever. I don't know. I guess you can call me the Clinic addict. Yeah, woo! That's funny if you know the expansions for Clinic. One of the expansions has the Clinic addict module, and that was definitely made because of me. All right, sorry, now that I've explained the joke that was supposed to be funny, let's move on to our number 1. So our number 1 on this list is Shia Legends of a Drift System, specifically with the Forbidden Star, or Embers of a Forbidden Star expansion. So the reason why this is number 1 on my list, and I want to emphasize, Shia Legends of a Drift System, I just said it, but I'll say it again. Shia Legends of a Drift System is number 19 on my top 20, and I think it deserved that spot because I hated that game when I first played it. And the reason why I hated Shia Legends of a Drift System is because it's a roll and move. The dice sometimes don't be dicing, and when the dice don't be dicing, you have an awful time. And then it sucks because you see your friend or your opponent across the table saying, "Woo! I got another 12 move. Yeah, I rolled another 12." And you're like, 1, roll a 1, roll a 1. It's like, oh, this game sucks. I hate this game. Flips table. So Shia Embers of a Forsaken Star adds modules that basically give you a way to reduce the dice, or sorry, mitigate the dice a little bit, manipulate the dice a little bit. And those things are specifically the GTS module. Like honestly, if I were doing my top 24 list again, and I were kind of arranging the games, I would say that the GTS module within Embers of a Forsaken Star is what makes Shia Legends of a Drift System a game that I enjoy immensely. Now, I want to explain this a little bit more, just give people more context, because you may not know Shia, you may not know the game. But in Shia, you have engines in your ship, and these engines will allow you to move a certain number of spaces. Those engines are either a D6, a D8, or a D12 engine. Now, these engines are essentially, the D that I said there is basically the dice. So if you have a D6 engine, you roll a D6, and if it rolls a 2, you get to move 2 spaces. That's what that means. So if you roll a D6 and you roll a 5, you get to move 5 spaces. That feels great. What doesn't feel great is when you have a D12 engine, so you get to roll a D12, and you roll a 1, and then you activate again, you roll a 1. You activate again, you roll a 1. That doesn't feel good. I hate that. It feels so bad. It just like my blood's boiling thinking about it, because I know dice exist. I know dice don't always dice badly, but sometimes dice hate me. Hey, that's the name of a company, isn't it? Nice. But sometimes dice hate me, and that just doesn't feel good. So I think that detracts greatly from the experience of Shia Legends of a Drift System, which is why a game like Stellar Horizons 2, which I would argue is basically Shia but closer to hard science instead of like fantasy. Stellar Horizons 2 does not have that annoying roll dice to figure out how far you move. You just move. And that I like. If Shia could do something like that, I would love it a lot more. But Embers of a Forsaken Star adds a module that gives you what's called a GTS. I forget what it stands for, but it's a GTS. And what that does is that attaches to your engine. So your D6 engine has a +2 GTS. What that means is that whatever you roll, you get to add 2 to it. And you can have multiple GTSs. You can have 2 GTSs. That way, every time you roll a die, you're either moving 5 spaces or moving 6 spaces. Yes, it takes up space. Yes, it costs money. And yes, it's not as efficient, but it allows you to explore and play the game and just exist in the world and do what you're trying to do. So I'm saying all that as a very long-winded way to say that the GTS saved this game for me, because I like Shia Legends of Drift system. I like what it's doing as far as letting you kind of go and do trade routes, go and be a bandit and kill people, go be a mission doer, go be somebody who harasses the cops or something, the enforcer, just break the law or do tricks and stuff, or just take your risk and try to roll natural 20s to win the game. It just gives you a lot of breath to do whatever you want to try to get to the end of the game, of course, within the confines of what the rules say, of course. And the movement system is such a detractor in Shia Legends of a Drift system that I've made it to the point personally to where in the game Embers of a Forsaken Star, because I have all this fancy stuff, instead of starting with I think you start the base game with $4. With all the extra stuff, you start with $5. Don't quote me on that. I think it might be 3 and 5. So don't quote me on that. But essentially, because you start with more money, I tell people who are first time playing Shia Legends of a Drift system with me is that you must buy a GTS. There's no if and but like if somebody complains a lot and say I don't want to buy a GTS, I want to do what I want. Why I gotta waste my $1 for that? Because it costs $1 to buy. I tell them, okay, fine, you can get it for free, but you must buy it, because it's just to me, I played a game with a friend who decided that he was gonna go with no engine. Why he decided to do that, I don't know. He was going to have a bad time to begin with. But he decided to go with no engine. He stocked up on weapons and did something else. He was doing something really silly. And his first 3 turns... Oh, sorry, no, I take it back. Sorry, he had a D6 engine. I lied. That was a different game. That was a different time. We're not going to talk about that time. Basically, in that situation, I was just about to explain, we just reset the game because it was just going to be a miserable time for everybody. But this person decided to get a D6 engine, and they rolled, I think, their first 3 activations, because you get 4 activations essentially. The first 3 activations for movement, they rolled a 1 and a 2 and then a 1. And then they said, okay, cool, I guess dice are gonna dice. You can't do anything about it. And then the next turn, they rolled a 1, a 1, and a 1. And it's like, okay, well, I guess you're not going anywhere. And the next turn, they rolled a 1, a 3, and a 1. And I was like, you know what? You should have got a GTS. And they're like, thanks for telling me that CulBlu. That would have been great for you to tell me earlier. And they didn't have as great of a time. And their perspective of the game was more shaded red because of that, if you will. So I don't know. I can't explain it any further than how I'm explaining it now, which is dice mitigation is a must in games for you to enjoy them. For me to enjoy, sorry, not you, but for me to enjoy them. And I think now I'm thinking about it, all the games in my top 20, my top 24 have some sense of dice mitigation, don't they? I'm trying to think which ones have dice. I guess G.I. Joe the deck building game doesn't have much dice mitigation. It kind of does, but not really. The dice mitigation G.I. Joe the deck building game, you should get more dice. And I don't think anything else has. Well, Stellar Horizons where you roll dice. So I'm just looking at all the games that I have around me right now. Vantage has dice mitigation. Yeah, dice mitigation is the name of the game. If there's no dice mitigation, then I'm probably gonna have a bad time. And in Shia Legends of Dristis in the base game, I had a bad time. Embers of a Forsaken Star also adds a lot of really cool things, like different ships that you can buy. It also gives you the secondary powers, which I think really enhances the game a lot. So in the base game, you just have 1 power. So if you get this ship, you will have this power. But Embers of a Forsaken Star adds a second power, so you can choose between an active power, as in you have to spend energy and it's a one and done per round, or you can have a passive instead. And that's really nice. It gives you more variety in the game for all the ships it gives you. So that's been really fun. And then I also think, actually no, I take it back. Does Embers do that? Oh no. Interesting, okay. Sorry, I misremembered. So Embers of a Forsaken Star does the GTS thing, and I think it's worth getting high in the level of that because of that. But there's another expansion for Shia Legends of a Drift system that's powers and missions. And powers and missions gives it the second power, which I think is worth it. So if I had to remember that, I think powers and missions would also be in my top 20 because of that. So I'm gonna summarize this by saying that the expansions for Shia Legends of a Drift System are what makes Shia Legends of a Drift System better, which is a little frustrating because that means that the base game wasn't where it should have been, in my opinion, for people to enjoy it. But people still liked it enough for Cody Miller and crew and the crew at Far Off Games to release more expansions. And they eventually patched the game to where it's in a nice, workable, great state. And that great state is having the GTSs that you get from this one, and then also having the missions and powers, which gives you the extra power to give you more variety in ships and give you more missions to do. I mean, it's just overall, Shia Legends of a Drift System is a game that I enjoy a lot because you get to fly around and do what you want. That's the reason why Stellar Horizons 2 exists on my list, even though I've only played solo twice in that game, twice all the way through. But Shia, a game that I played countless of times, I shared it with friends. I have a friend group that really loves Shia so much that when we get together, if we haven't played together in a long time, the first thing we do is we put Shia on the table, we start playing it, and then the next day, if we're playing games the next day, like on Saturday, Sunday, we'll come back and we'll play something else on Sunday. But Shia Legends of a Drift System is just such a good game. Like, I just love it so much. I can't express how much I like the game outside of putting it at #1 on my list, which is why it's at #1 on my list. So there you go. Oh, I will say that this game is also a 3-player or more game. That's an important thing to note. Shia Legends of a Drift System has a solo mode. That's not good. It's okay. It's all right. It's just not like I'm gonna play this every single day type situation. I know there's some people who love Shia Legends of a Drift System for its solo mode. I am not one of those people. I would make the argument that I would put the solo mode of this game in the same category, the same bin that I would put something like John Company. And for those who don't know, John Company solo mode is very procedural. You have a bot that does a lot of things, and you're trying to like check this, and then you check this, and you check the board state, and you do this, and you do that, and you spend a lot of time doing the bot's turn that it kind of detracts from you doing your own turn. And I feel like in this game, you spend a lot of time doing the scoundrel's turn and doing the enforcer's turn and doing the merchant's turn, that you spend a little bit less time doing things that you want to do, and it kind of detracts from the game. Whereas when you play with at least 3 players, you get to just kind of, everybody does their thing, and then the merchant will just move, the enforcer will just move, and the scoundrel will just go towards his target. So that kind of simplifies the game a lot, and I think it's definitely worth noting that the solo mode does exist, and I think the solo mode exists because of this expansion, and I don't like the solo mode. So, as somebody who primarily plays a lot of my board games solo, Shia Legends of a Drift System is definitely one that I play with my group because we all enjoy it, we all have a great time, we all have laughs trying to see if somebody can actually make it to the center of Farron's Call. Farron's Call is basically a black hole, and if you make it to the center of Farron's Call, or if you make it to the center, you die because you're in the middle of a black hole. But if you make it to the edge and you can fly back out, some people like to just do that just because. There's also a mission that corresponds to that, or a goal that corresponds to that. There's some wacky events that can happen in Shia. There's so much that Shia Legends of a Drift System has to offer that I would recommend it to people. And the last thing I'll say before I finally get to the summarization of this video, because I've been going on for nearly 2 hours already, is that this game is basically what Firefly would feel like. So I know Firefly has a board game. I have not played it. I do have a friend, a single friend, who's played Firefly the board game, and they said that when they played Shia, it felt like this is what Firefly should have been. I don't remember the exact reason behind it. I think it was something along the lines of Firefly the board game has you do like missions and you gotta pay money and do stuff. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how they said it. Go check out Board Game Geek. People talk about it there. But for me personally, I'll take that at face value. I liked the show Firefly. Of course, I came to it way after it was already off air. So I liked what I saw, like Space Cowboys basically. And it felt cool to just like think like, hey, look, I'm a space cowboy. I'm out here flying around in my ship, and oh, I died because the enforcer got me, or oh, I died because the scoundrel bothered me, or oh, now I gotta go fight. Now I have to try to make it through this asteroid belt. And you try to maneuver, you take some damage, and you make it through, and you do a mission. It just feels fun. You have a lot of cool stories to tell, and I like that a lot. It's like a choose your own adventure board game without being a choose your own adventure board game, like Vantage. I don't know. Anyway, I have a lot of glowing words to say about Shia Legends of a Drift System, so I'm just gonna bring my top 3 back up on the table because this top 3 is essentially where it's at. So if you want to know me as a board gamer, these are my top 3 games. Feel free to judge me accordingly. I enjoy playing this with friends. I enjoy playing this solo or with friends, and I enjoy playing this mostly solo. The other games that exist on my list that I think would definitely score higher if I got a chance to play them more would probably be something like Shackleton Base. It is a game that exists in my collection. It is not on my top anything list because I haven't played it yet. It is not on my top anything list. And also, because I'm a solo board gamer, I think it's important to point out some quintessential solo board games that did not make my top anything list, and that would be, or sorry, top 24 list, and that would be Mage Knight. I'm gonna call out Mage Knight very specifically because I just did not enjoy that experience. Mage Knight and Shia Legends of Adrift System were two games that I was introduced to at around the same time, not exactly the same time. I was introduced to Shia Legends of Adrift System first, and then I was introduced to Mage Knight slightly after, maybe 6 or 7 months later. And every time I play Mage Knight, I always think, why can't you just have simple movement? I have played a few games of Mage Knight that I enjoyed thoroughly with some of my coworkers, and that was a lot of fun because we were basically stuck in a iced-in office because we volunteered to work while the snowstorm was going around, and we got to play two full games of Mage Knight over the course of 2 days, and that was a lot of fun. So I did enjoy that experience, but it's just the amount of brain power required to just move in Mage Knight, I could never get over myself personally. So that's why something like Mage Knight did not make it pretty high on my list. I can let you know where it is on my list though if you really want to know. Mage Knight is 249 out of 442 on my list. So take that how you will. I feel kind of ashamed saying out loud. I feel bad for Mage Knight. Let me try to think of another game. What's another solo quintessential game? I'm trying to look on my list on like my main shelf. I don't see anything. I guess I can throw Marvel Legendary. I don't think it might cause like a quintessential, if you play solo board games, you must play this game. But Marvel Legendary, I have a lot of it, and I really want to like it, but it's just, I don't like cleaning up that game. If I could just play that game without having to clean it up, I would put it on my list, but it's number 108 on my list, and I'm including that base game plus all the expansions. All right, let me think. There's got to be another quintessential solo board game. Does anybody know one out there that you want to know if it's on my list? Looking over all my shelves here. Oh yeah, Hadrian's Wall. Yeah, Hadrian's Wall. I can throw Hadrian's Wall in there. I've already talked about Hadrian's Wall. It is not on my list. I do not have it in my collection anymore. I do not like it as a game. I did not like the experience that I got from the game. My specific gripe with Hadrian's Wall was that I felt like I could do too much. And because I felt like I can do too much, I didn't really get into it. So that's what the limiter was for me. Under Falling Skies. That's not a quintessential, you must have this game if you're solo, but I do want to see where that landed, because I do have that in my collection. Under Falling Skies, wow, that's pretty good. Under Falling Skies placed at number 57 on my list. And let me think. I'm trying to scroll through my top 50 here. Let me see what else is here. Nothing else really of note. I mean, I guess Fire in the Lake is in there. That's not a quintessential solo, but it's on my list. Oh, D-Day at Omaha Beach. That's that's a specialist solo game. That one is 30th on my list. Man, I made it in top 50. Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah. Leviathan Wilds. Wow, that scored pretty high. Leviathan Wilds is number 27 on my list. And I think that's pretty much Star Wars The Outer Rim is number 36. And I'm just naming random stuff at this point. Oh, Slay the Spire. I did mention that was in my top 50. It is number 41. And Dead Cells, I mentioned that was in my top 50. That was incorrect. It is number 56. So Dead Cells, the board game, is there. Oh, Mr. President. Oh, man. I have Mr. President in my collection, and it made it into my list, and is number 58. I think that game has too much chaos for me. That's too much random going on for me to fully enjoy. Final Girl. That's another one. Where did Final Girl land? Because Final Girl fell from grace. I had a point in time where Final Girl was like my go-to. Like I was like, I want to play something solo. I'm gonna play Final Girl. I'm gonna love this game. And I did a whole video series on Final Girl. It was a whole love story that just kind of fell apart. The highest representative for Final Girl is Final Girl. Oh, actually, that's not true. The highest representative for Final Girl is it really Terraform Above? Wow. Okay. Terraform Above, the Terraform Above vignettes expansion, which is on my shelf still, and that is 255. The base game of Final Girl, I guess you can't really judge it by that, so because you need the base game plus one of the episodes. So yeah, 255 is the highest showing for Final Girl. That's not great. I'm probably gonna get some hate for that one too, but you know what? I don't care. I do care, but I don't care that much. Okay, all right. I think I rambled on enough. We made it to the 2-hour mark. So thank you all very much for watching this video. If you have any comments, queries, questions about anything that's on my list, feel free to drop it in the comments. Let me know what some of your games were that were maybe your favorites, that were maybe lower on my list or higher on my list. Or just let me know about some games that, you know, hey, CulBlu, you should go check this out. One game that I think would join my list later on, once I get some playthroughs, and I don't know if it'll jump in my top 50, but Pax Premiere is a game that I have, but I just for some reason have not played it. Oh, I guess I can play on Board Game Geek or Board Game Arena and get through it, and also Molly House. I have some high expectations of Molly House because from what I saw in some of the video playthroughs, that looked a lot of fun. So I think that might be up my alley there. And yeah, all right. Okay, enough belaboring the points. We're gonna go ahead and cut the video there. So thank you all very much for watching. As I said before, hope this is informative. Hope you all enjoyed it. I hope the bookmarks help you skip through and see things you need to see. Ultimately, this is my current top 24 as of now. This is definitely subject to change, especially as I play more games, especially as I get more runs of certain games, and we'll see how this list might evolve. Maybe I'll do this every year. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. All right. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, I will see y'all whenever. Or not. Wait, hold on. Got some bonus content here, y'all. Sorry, my controller disconnected. All right, now I'll see y'all whenever. All right.